Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves the pleasure of reviewing a track from an act named Bombyx Mori titled The Promise off of their Chaotic Resonance album. And if we switch over to here, we have ourselves a track on Spotify. We're going to listen through it from start till finish. We're going to hear what we think. Got a fair few plays on these tracks, which is good, so let's go. It's just ferocious, isn't it? Off the bat. Things are pretty solid all around. So we're 9/8. Is there an unusual time signature going on there? Because I think that's interesting. Like the song is quite well written. There's a chaotic sort of nature to the track as a whole. There's some really sort of like intense elements there. But it's just that time signature with the extra eighth on the end, which makes things kind of compelling, I suppose. And to have the crackle there as well as a bit of Foley is kind of dope. And looping back into this. So we went for like a AABA structure with the chorus there, much like the first one. I think that we're trying to make it compelling and kind of catchy, I suppose, in a way that isn't disingenuous. I think that you've got this at this point of the track, you know, past this, we're kind of looking for a bit of diversity, a change to like a third riff or something like that to kind of spice things up a little bit. I have a feeling that might be just about to come. I haven't listened to this before now. I just kind of figured that might be the point, you know. Wonderfully phrased though. I mean, like, it's just such a juxtaposition in it. You have the softness, the smoothness of that jazz. It almost is like smooth jazz, right? Then the sides of the stereo field, boom, you just get this massive guitar tone there. Things just come down and you got the thundery vocals and everything like that. That was a nice palate cleanser though, for sure. Oh, double time. Great shift. Oh, see, this is what I like. I hate to interrupt in the middle, and I'm sure you can hear this anyways, but like I like the fact we're adjusting that drum groove there. Just a little bit of a diversity, you know, in that latter half. You know, like, I think that there's something really positive here. We're going to talk about this track more in the conclusion, but I'll check out the lyrics before that in a moment. So as aforementioned, we have the lyrics here for this track, the promise from Bombyx Mori. But the health of my health is my clue, my peace of mind. Toward a mysterious perspective of existence can only give you a painful confusion. Mental health is only an illusion. That's interesting. Is that saying that people think that mental health isn't something to worry about, or that being in health is an illusion? Songs descend into mind's fold. I want to break your blocks. I made a promise tonight to keep them out of sight. Okay, yeah, I think I understand what's going on, but we're going to talk about that more in the conclusion. Because welcome to the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named Bombyx Mori, titled The Promise, off of their Chaotic Resonance album, which was released this year, I think in May. If you haven't checked it out yet, please do go show them some love. But before we get to that stage, I want to just talk about this track and what I think it's about. I think it's about someone who was, you know, maybe having some issues with their mental health, trying to figure out where they're at in their own mind, trying to understand themselves, trying to understand the perceptions of others with it, sort of like going through their own thought process and trying to find potentially a space of healing, or like an acceptance of where they're at, or trying to find a way out to get over it. In the sense that like we're trying to overcome the challenges and adversities that we're coming up against. I think that's basically what the promise is about. Maybe it's making a promise to yourself that you'll overcome it, or like a promise to someone else or something like that, I'm not sure. But either way, it's still very compelling. I think the way that the vocals tell the story is quite interesting as well. We clearly could sing. We had great vocal technique, though. I liked the growls and the sort of like rougher, fryish vocals there. The technique there was solid, it's a part of the genre, and it works well within it, especially with the textures of some of the guitar and drum parts and everything like that. The ferocity there is warranted, and I think that when we go into those cleaner parts with a bit of fry in the chorus parts, we sort of go like A-B, like juxtaposed there in a way, tonally as well as melodically, which is really great. Like we have the intensity, the kind of brutality of the verse parts, then we sort of compare that to the chorus, where we're kind of rising with the music, trying to go into our mind's fold like that. I think it's great. There's a sense of trepidation with the vocal harmonies in the chorus there, as if we are aware of the journey that we are about to take, but I think that's just all the more appropriate for what we're discussing. I think it's very good. The track itself, with the understanding that the singer emoted well, expressed themselves well, and was very present in the mix in a way that was very satisfying, and sold the vocals quite well. The track itself is 5.5 minutes, and I think with progressive rock, progressive metal like this, it's totally, like, it's justifiable. You've got a lot of diversity within the different riffs themselves there. The instruments are doing a lot of different things there, and it's not all the same thing. There was an expectation of a different concept during the 3-minute mark that was expected, and it was met. And I think that saxophone solo was just something that I couldn't have possibly, I don't know how you could have possibly expected it, especially if you're new to Bombyx Mori stuff. And I think that it was nice to have that as an alternate lead there to some of the vocal parts there, especially because the guitar, bass, and drums predominantly rhythm focused. There was some melody there with some of those, inside some of those guitar leads, but it was about that heaviness, that mid to low range there. So when the vocals weren't there like they were in the chorus sections, having that saxophone lead there, when things kind of came down a little bit and got a little bit less kind of like intense, it was just nice to have that there, that shift there. I think structurally, the track seamlessly navigated between those verse and chorus sections there. I was very comfortable with its various motifs and progressions. The instrument performances were tight. I'll go into the instruments in a moment, but I think as well that even though it was 5 minutes, 30, and that's usually, it's a bit outside the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot for a lot of music, I think that we filled that quite well. I don't think there was any filler whatsoever. The track itself contained guitar parts, and I think that they were quite tight. We had like a 9/8 or something like that, an interesting time signature going on in some of those verse parts. So we could have potentially been splitting it between 4/4 and 5/4 or something like that. But regardless, it was a situation where I think we met things quite neatly with the tone kind of wriggling and writhing around. The guitar sounded uncomfortable, not in the way that it was performed, but the actual idea it was trying to convey with its riffs and melodies and the lower string stuff. It was ferocious. And I think that when you consider what we were discussing within the lyrics, that guitar concept makes a lot of sense. We were very tight when we needed to be, like rhythmically with the bass and drums in unison with like the chorus parts, but there was a lot of fluidity in those verse sections there. We had a lot of range there and depth with the strings as well. We planned things quite well. I'm very happy with the guitar parts. They were also just really well performed. We didn't have any like solo elements really for the leads, but we didn't need it because it was just intriguing with the riffs themselves. The bass guitar was nice and fluent in that low range there. We found a space in amongst the 7 or 8 strings, whatever we had within this track, to include them in a way that was meaningful. They further bolstered what was going on with the progressions, and I think ultimately it was just really neatly handled there. It was tight and had a great sense of pace and commiseration with the drums there. The drums being really sort of fragrant there. A lot of diversity with the different kick, snare, and patterns. We were not afraid to go from like normal time to half time to double time in that later section there. We had unique identities for the different parts within the structure of the track there for the percussion as well as everything else there. It was unique and easily identifiable. I should note in terms of transitions before I continue that the chorus part, coming into the chorus, it felt like we were taking a leap of faith before we went to the chorus. It was like almost like a pause there where things were kind of stagnant and boom, you were kind of hit with it. Much like you were hit with it in a similar way, I suppose, when we came out of the saxophone solo back into that distorted riff after that solo section. I think that was for effect. I think we were trying to sort of give ourselves a bit of a nirvana and oasis before we kind of came back into the flow of things. I just want to also talk about the saxophone solo because I think that was really beautiful. I think texturally it was a nice contrast there. It was nice and pretty sounding there. Very, very nicely performed. The legato phrasings and stuff, some of those notes, as well as the navigations around the rather complex scale and mode requirements of the harmonies and stuff going on the track were well executed there. And I just think that ultimately it was a song where we really did need, again, that alternate sax lead in order to keep it 5.5 minutes of the kind of the heaviness, but when it was there, it went in and it came out, and we were ready for more. And I think that was really, really good. So the theme overall, though, I get the impression with the combination of more sort of triumphant nature of the chorus there, the trepidation, the journey we're about to go on with, like the kind of the fighting through the verse that we had there with the caustic sounding vocals there, the vicious sounding guitar riffs and the diverse drum and bass patterns, is that it's a track where we were trying to communicate a sense of unease or like disassociation. Like we were trying to communicate our own journey through maybe our mental health issues and stuff like that with the theme of it. And I think that we nailed that. We managed to use chords and different chromatic scale patterns and sort of like Phrygian modes and stuff like that, as well as like chose tones that communicated that emotional sort of like element there in that angle. And I think that when you combine the chords and the progressions and the different sections and how they kind of match the lyrics and the vocals, we were tight. It was good. Really well done. The studio recording, mixing, and mastering was the icing on the cake. It was really incredibly well handled. The engineers involved should feel proud of themselves. I'm really stoked to hear that it was well mixed. The vocals, the guitar, bass, drums, saxophone, everything was nice and neatly sort of placed within the frequency spectrum as well as in the stereo field there. And, there was dynamic range to it. It wasn't the same loudness all the time, but it kicked when it needed to. it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the bus compression and limiting was handled, and the guy could just sing. The vocals weren't over-processed. Things were just really well handled there, and it sounded like a really live, real performance. I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track from an act named Bombyx Mori, titled The Promise, off of their Chaotic Resonance album, and hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please do go show them some love via their various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe, and please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as you need the help more than ever with all the crazy stuff going on in the world, and I will catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.